Our meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. And if you would like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will then move on to public comment. Is there anyone that would like to make a public comment? Patrick, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I was kind of gathering my thoughts after the work session. I didn't want to make a comment at the end of that, but and I'm still gathering my thoughts. But I think it was a good work session, and we brought some real numbers out, which was really important. It looks like the calculations based on the treasurer's spreadsheets would indicate that if we chose the 50% fixed cost option, which is kind of what Stantec was recommending, 30% or something like that, that the average customer bill would be about $320 per quarter. And that would cover the operations and maintenance, but not the capital replacement, right? I still think that number should be considered as a possibility. I know you want to gather more data, and that's good. We don't need completely precise data at this point. We already know kind of what at least the O&M is going to be. And the cost of gathering very precise data might not be worth it because it costs a lot to gather details. So that's my basic comment. That and by the way, I'd like to thank Treasurer Egler for doing this work kind of pro bono. And also Mike Jarosik for his initiative, which is spanning many years, of course.
Right.
But my basic comment is we're not going to ever we probably can't raise the rates high enough to cover O&M and capital replacement. I don't know if our users could even bear that. So we don't necessarily need to know all of the numbers in their total ugly glory, right? If we just say, well, we're going to raise it to approximate the O&M, that might be something that we could take action on before we do a very expensive study. That's just my thoughts for now. And I do think it was a good meeting, and I hope I hope you might even have some more work sessions before September, because a lot of these things are not just numbers, but kind of a strategy and philosophy discussion too, which was part of this. Thank you.
Anyone else today? All right, we will then move on to approval of the agenda. I would like to remove consideration of water rate increase. We are going to postpone that until September. And then I would like to add the Washtenaw 230 presentation to the agenda. Any other amendments? All right, I would look for a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Thank you, Kurt.
Second.
Thank you, Doug. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The agenda is approved as amended. And I guess I will make a note, the Washtenaw 230 presentation, we will actually, we will move that before new business.
They're before unfinished or new?
There's no unfinished business, so.
Oh, well.
Business. Okay. All right. So then we will move on to approval of the June 10th, 2025 regular meeting minutes. Thank you, Doug, for sending those out beforehand. Does anybody have any comments? They look good to me.
I move to approve.
I'll move to approve the minutes. For the June 10th regular.
Okay, got that from Kurt. Sandy support?
Sure.
To Sandy. All right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. The minutes are approved as presented. We'll move on then to approval of the consent agenda. That includes the presentation of bills, correspondence, committee reports, board reports, department reports.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Kurt. I have support from Sandy. All right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The consent agenda is approved as presented. We have no unfinished business. We will then move on to the Washtenaw 230 presentation. Yeah, you have to go to click share. You have to switch over to click share. Yes. Do I have her card? I don't remember her name, Doug. Do we have?
It's Lissa. So If, yep,
Doug, why don't you go ahead and introduce her? I'm sorry.
Melissa, do you want to introduce yourself? And
Please.
what-
Microphone turned on.
oh,
Hello. Oh, look how loud. I'm Lissa Spitz. I'm a project manager with the Washtenaw 2030 District, and I really appreciate you having me here. It's a pleasure to be here. I know you're very busy, so I will try and not take too much time other than our little technical glitch there. So I'm going to go through these slides pretty quick. I just want to introduce the district to you, tell you what we do. And what I'd really like to do is if you have any questions or comments about, my goal here is I would love to have your township join the district. I'm here trying to get more of the municipalities in the county to join the district. So I'm going to tell you what we do and hope that you are interested in that. So our tagline is accelerating to zero faster together, which is zero carbon, basically net zero. So the Washtenaw 2030 district is one of approximately 25 districts across North America. And the goals are basically to reduce emissions in the built environment, so commercial buildings, 50 to 60% by 2030, and then net zero by 2040. So they're pretty ambitious goals. These are the number of square feet across the country in all the districts. There are more coming online all the time. There's 4 in Michigan, which I think is the most in any one state. So that's kind of cool. So what do? We help to decarbonize the built environment, commercial buildings, by reducing energy and water use, reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And the main ways that we can do that are by assisting with benchmarking. So benchmarking is basically just tracking your energy and water use and then each year comparing it to previous. And also we compare it to the same building type nationally. So the information is always aggregated. Nobody's data is put out there as, identified as yours. Another thing that we do a lot of is building energy audits, which are free. And we have a very robust solar technical assistance program. And as I said, we work throughout the county. So our main activities are education. We provide some funding. We advocate for these kinds of activities. And then we collaborate with a lot of different groups. So benchmarking, it's usually the first thing that we start with. And I thought this slide was really interesting just because I just learned about it. Apparently, there are a lot of states and municipalities across the country that are now requiring benchmarking. And actually, Ann Arbor is one of them. And we have a contract with Ann Arbor, so we assist with their benchmarking. And that's a big project. But it appears to be the way that, the future where we're going is that more municipalities are going to be requiring it, I think. These are some of the other organizations that we partner with. We support the decarbonization plans in the state of Michigan, the SEMCOG for Southeast Michigan. We work closely with the city of Ann Arbor on their 8-to-0 plan, and we help to implement the Resilient Washtenaw plan for the county. I know I'm not doing this exactly the right way. So currently we are basically the gist of this slide is that our district is growing. We're doubling our membership pretty much every year, and 98% of our clients are doing the benchmarking. So how do I make it?
Like an arrow or a.
Sorry. Wrong one. Okay. As I said, we have a really robust solar program. We can help with producing a request for proposal. We can offer technical assistance with reviewing proposals. We offer free feasibility studies to find out if a site is a good candidate for solar, and we will help to pre-qualify contractors. So we did 10 consults in 2024. And then we also provide energy management grants. So in 2024, our budget was $85,000. We typically give around $5,000 per member. And often our members like to use those on these building energy audits. Sometimes if they have a particular project like these HVAC replacement projects, they use the energy management grant for that. It can be used for decarbonization plans. It can be used for renovation consultation. And I should have said too in that last one, as far as we can provide funding, none of our services are charged. We don't ever charge municipalities. It's all free. So, and it won't become, fee-based after a couple of years or whatever. We do it for free. Another thing, our education program is pretty big. We put on these webinars in consultation with the Washtenaw County Contractors Association and AIA Huron Valley. So we have webinars pretty much every month that are all kinds of topics related to the energy use reduction. And then the way we organize our clients or our members are by building type. So because the energy used in a multifamily building, for instance, is going to be really different type than what you'll see in a restaurant and bar. So these are our 4 best practice groups. House of Worship and House of Worship and also nonprofits is one group, and they are one of our oldest groups, and they're really very experienced. So not only if you guys are interested in joining, but if you know of any churches in the area that could use help with their building, we are looking to grow all of our groups. So, and then restaurant and bar, multifamily. And I think that is all the slides that I had. I wanted to make sure I didn't forget to tell you that we don't charge for our services. Um, I, I feel like there was something else I was supposed to tell you. I'm so sorry. But please feel free to contact me at any time. There are some handouts that Doug was kind enough to print that kind of summarize what we talked about. And I would love, if you have any questions now, to take a couple minutes.
When you talk about a free energy audit, how would we take advantage of that? Is you're referring to our building?
Yes, right. So, there's a pretty simple form online on our website to fill out. Basically, once you join the district, you fill out that energy audit request. And I mean, if you're interested in doing it, like I can walk you through it on the phone, or I can come out and help you do it. It takes 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes.
And then the energy management grants, that is through you?
Right. So we can give up to $5,000 for whatever kinds of energy reduction steps you want to take. Often people use that grant to pay for the energy audit, because a lot of times the energy audit is what people want to get first. They're very practical. They're very detailed. So they will look at all the systems in your building. It will tell you what's performing well, it'll give recommendations for what improvements could be made, and a rough idea of cost of improvements, a rough idea of years payback, how long will it take before it pays for itself. So often people start with that, so it will tell you like, oh, we need to do such and such, and here's how much it will cost. And the other thing that we do with those, often the state of Michigan also has energy management grants, and they are giving up to $100,000 per client. And they have said that they will restart that program this fall in September. So, if you were to get the energy audit and it said, oh, we need a new HVAC unit, then we could help you apply for the grant to do that. So
Yeah, and what is the process to join?
it's just, you get online, there's a button that says join.
Anyone else? I mean, it's free. There's never a cost.
Right.
I don't know why we wouldn't join. I mean, if we can go through the energy audit process, that will let us know what changes, we could make to the building. We talked about changing all the lights to LED.
That's a good one. People do that. It's low hanging fruit, right?
Yeah, but then like you said, the HVAC, having.
What year was this building built? Roughly.
99.
Okay. I tried looking it up and couldn't find it, but yeah, there could certainly be improvements since then.
But I mean, it's just good data for us to have. We can make decisions from that based on cost, but it would be good for us to have. Okay. All right. Anyone else? All right. Thank you so much, Liza.
Yes, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. If you don't mind, I'll stay and just watch, because I like to learn how people work.
All right, we will then move on to review of the zoning ordinance amendment 25-001. And I will let Scott introduce this and
Yes.
background.
Yep. So this process has been going on for a while. I think he started it in 2022 with different planning consultant, Rebecca Harvey. And then I took over this renewable energy regulations in late 2024 after we did the joint meeting with the Planning Commission. This was one of the items that we were supposed to get through in 2025. So the ordinance that's in front of you tonight has been discussed with me at the Planning Commission on October 24th. We started with an educational meeting where we had somebody from U of M Sustainability come out and talk about PA 233, which is the state regulations. And then I also discussed what surrounding municipalities had in place for these types of issues. We got a little busy right after October with some other projects at the Planning Commission, so it was brought back with a draft ordinance in March of 2025. At that meeting, I also presented the draft from Rebecca Harvey. I used Rebecca Harvey's as a guidelines to create the new draft, but made the new draft more simplified and streamlined. The Planning Commission after that meeting had some recommendations and changes that they requested. So we brought it back in May of 2025 for the third Planning Commission meeting. And at that time, I brought back a revised draft with more of their recommendations on where to go on these regulations. And then in June of 2025, the Planning Commission held their public hearing on this project. So this ordinance will revise and add the renewable energies facilities. So it will talk about solar, wind, and battery storage. Your existing ordinance, I believe, only had, was it wind? I believe you had wind in your existing ordinance, which was removed from the location that it was in and put into the new, into a new section, and then also revised. But also along with this ordinance, we removed the P5 zoning district, which was one of the recommendations on your master plan, just because it was an easy amendment to do, just to remove that zoning district. There was currently no land zoned P5 in your community, and that zoning district was, I'm not exactly sure how you would ever use it other than if it was on a single lot. It was dealing with access to lake properties. It would have been a very interesting way to use a zoning district. And then I also added outdoor lighting because there was a lot of talk about the dark skies regulations. So the new proposed lighting regulations are dark skies friendly amendments. You actually didn't have any regulations in place in your ordinance for lighting prior to this. So it's actually all new. So, but it's dark skies friendly, meaning there's some regulations about the directional lighting, and then also on the lumens that can be used on lighting, both on residential and commercial properties. So on all lighting within the community. So at the June 2025 Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of this ordinance. They made 3 revisions, and those revisions are in the ordinance that's in front of you tonight, because that was the recommendation of the Planning Commission. So I think you've all read my report and you know what those 3 amendments were. Plus there's 40 pages of
Will you just
actual.
highlight the revisions, please?
Yeah, the revisions, one of them revised section 3803C3B to require 100-foot setback from the road and any property lines for solar. Prior to that, the requirement that was in the ordinance was a 50-foot setback from the side and rear property lines, still 100-foot from the road. So they just added the 100-foot to all of the property lines. The revised regulations regarding fencing to allow 10-foot fence heights for all 3 of the solar, the primary energy facilities, meaning solar, wind, and battery storage. Prior to that, it was to allow up to 7 feet, so they increased that by 3 additional feet. They revised section 3810D3 to allow primary wind energy facilities to be up to 300 feet tall. Prior to that, it was 275 feet tall. The ordinances from the Planning Commission were put into place to be what would be considered a workable ordinance if a developer on a project that could go to the state wanted to come to the township. We looked at regulations that were more strict than the PA 233, but still maybe workable for a developer if they wished to come through the township instead of go to the state. So, but the way the ordinance, so I'm just talking about the renewable energies facility ordinance works, is you have primary and accessory for all 3 of those. The accessory would be anything that is only powering the stuff that's on the site that it's on. And the primary would be if that energy is shipped off site for any reason. So it doesn't have a maximum numbers associated with it. Like PA 233 has very maximum numbers. So anytime that you're generating energy to use off site, it would be considered a primary energy. So even if it was a 20 megawatt system, but you were shipping that energy off site, that would be considered a primary system. So that's how that ordinance works. It is like I said, simplified and clarified ordinance. Some ordinances I've seen recently have been created with the 3-level system where they have a primary, accessory, and what they considered a small primary. And what I've seen is that municipalities are putting that small primary system in place to make it harder for those to get approval. And that's because they're not covered by the PA 233 section. So I guess that's all that I have for you, other than if you have any questions. What I've put in your packet tonight was the ordinance, which has the ordinance language in it. You can see everything in red is the new wordings, and then everything in the crossout is the crossout wordings of our existing regulations. I've also put in a resolution, which if you want to move forward with this, you would approve the resolution to approve the ordinance.
You said that there was another tier called the primary accessory that you've seen.
No, small primary.
All primary. And so how is that covered in this ordinance?
It's not, and I wouldn't suggest we do it, but if you want to, we can always come back and do it at another time.
Why would you not want to cover it?
Why do you need another tier for a small commercial solar farm?
Small commercial would be less than how many megawatts?
Currently, PA 233 would be 100 megawatt system. So 100 so we do currently regulate those the exact same way we regulate 100 megawatt systems. So you can come in with a 1 megawatt system that you're shipping to the grid, but it is covered under the same regulations that a 100 megawatt system would be covered under. So the only difference would be you would be making between 1 and 100 if you were using that as a commercial system or a primary system.
Right.
You would have different regulations from 100 and above.
Okay.
So, and if this goes into place, like all ordinances, the ordinance is a living document, and all of a sudden you get 500 small systems and you want to regulate them differently, then we could always come back and look at that. I doubt highly that that's going to happen. Just Washtenaw County has a very specific user base, and it's because our lots per acre are $60,000, and it's quite expensive to develop here. So I can't see a lot of these going in at this time.
Okay.
So, and even if they do, they're covered under the existing ordinance that we created. So they would have to meet all the same regulations as a large system.
So on Scott's comment about the primary projects, keep in mind that the projects that are provided through PA 233 of 100 megawatts or more, the township gets money from that. There's, I don't know what you call state kickback money or whatever. So they pay us a certain amount of money for those projects. So if they put in a smaller projects, 50 megawatts, we don't get anything other than what our typical taxes or fees would be. So something to keep in mind about size of these projects. Another thing was when he was reviewing the 3 revisions from the Planning Commission. Number 1, about 3809 C3B. That's on page 16 of your Exhibit 1. And so that's just basically changing the word.
Page 16, where are you seeing? I'm not.
So at the bottom of the page where it says setbacks.
We're not seeing it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at 2 different page
What
numbers
is the
here.
board pack?
123. Page 123. Of your packet. So at the bottom, so B, you're just changing the word A to any property line. So by that, we are eliminating subsection C, the one below that, 50 feet. So that would go away because we're just saying 100 feet to any property line now.
I would suggest we do not remove C.
Really?
And it's because the way these things work is they lease out maybe 50, 60 different properties. And you don't want to have 100 feet. Like if you collect all 50 of the properties and they're all right next to each other, you don't want to have setbacks in those middle lot lines. So you have 1 5-acre lot here, 1 5-acre lot here, 1 5-acre lot here, and you got them, but they're all adjacent. You don't want to have 100 foot from every property line. You only want to have it from the not common property line.
Any other property line is, you mean property line not related to the project or something?
Required setbacks shall not apply to common property lines. That means when you have adjacent properties that are all leased under the same lease. So again, if you consider a developer comes in, he leases this guy's farm, he leases this guy's farm, and that's 100 acres maybe. We don't want him to have the 100 foot from that center property, that common property line. We only want him to have the 100 foot from the edges.
But we just reworded it 100 feet to a road right of way or any property line. That's the way the Planning Commission changed it. So
so if that's what you believe they changed it to, that was not their intent. Their intent was to still allow C2. I removed the old C that was in there, which was, I can read it to you off of your exhibit 2. Primary solar, C was 50 feet to any other property line.
right, that's what I'm.
So
But D.
we removed that. D was not supposed to be removed, which was required setbacks shall not apply to common property lines
Right.
of participating lots.
Or that's what I was saying. The old C, not the new.
Oh, all right.
The old C was.
But we've already replaced it and it's on page, it's because you're looking at the wrong.
Okay.
Exhibit 1 is the one with the ordinance on the top and it's page 16 on 78 of 160.
Okay. I thought I was looking at the, all right.
He was in the wrong version, I think.
Yeah.
So the right, what page is it in the, I know you have the ordinance. So take me to the page in the board packet of where it is in the,
79 of 160, I think, page 16 of 41 on exhibit 1.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So it's all the way at the bottom, C. But I do believe that 100 feet to a road right of way or any other property line might be better than a property line. I don't know. It's up to you.
Well, that's fine. I mean, it's just now that I know that it was taken out. Um,
yeah, because C covers that. Required setbacks do not apply to common property
Yep.
lines of
I
participation.
wasn't.
He was just in the wrong.
Yeah, I was talking about the old C. That
Okay.
was-
All right, so that makes sense.
Can I address something else?
Absolutely.
So okay, we're gonna look at the old one because that's the one I marked up, but on page 123, which is the same section, primary solar energy. Section 2, zoning district. It's saying the district shall only be located on parcels south of I-94. And then same thing on page 130 for wind energy. Zoning district will be on parcels south of I-94. And then on page 138, the same thing for battery, only located on parcels south of I-94. So the way that evolved was it was originally tied to being within a half mile of utility lines within the township. And that included parcels north of I-94, but it excluded parcels in the southwest corner of the township, which are primarily rural and farmland. And the concern was that if those farmers wanted to lease their land to solar or wind or something, they were being excluded in that southwest corner of the township because it didn't fall within that half mile. So the planning commission compromised and said, okay, we'll include everything south of I-94, but we're going to exclude everything north of I-94. So now some property north of I-94 near power lines near the city that would be more economical to put in a solar or battery operation are excluded. I didn't hear from the planning commission a good argument why we can't remove any restriction geographically in our township and just allow these throughout the township. Most of the property where it's developed is not ideal for any of these projects, so they're not going to be, they kind of exclude themselves around the lakes and the conservation areas. They're just not ideal for any kind of energy projects. So the only places north of I-94 would be over by Conway Road and east toward Chelsea, or
Where on Conway are you thinking?
I'm not, sorry, not Conway. Am I thinking Conway? Yeah, Conway.
Mhm.
And Pierce Road, perhaps by the power lines. There's some rural land there, but you know, those would be smaller projects that we're not talking about 500 acres or 100 acres or anything like that. So I'm thinking if we remove any restrictions geographically, then we're removing any liability, right? Somebody wants to put in a solar project near Westchester or something like that, where there's all that open farmland. That would be an option for
Where
them.
by Westchester? This has to be 50 megawatts or greater, right?
No, this is primary. So it'd be anything that would be above,
Not
Use.
used for the site.
yeah.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Not used for the site itself. So
Right.
used for commercial purposes,
So
basically.
1 acre.
Huh?
1 acre, I mean.
I mean,
I
you
know,
don't
I
see 1
understand
acre
that it's not going to-
ones, but yes.
1 acre, you wouldn't be able to sell much of any to anybody else, but something like, you know, that would be profitable to utility might be, 50 acres or something like
I think the only, and I did go back and review that planning commission meeting. I would think that there, part of that was not wanting to put these next to residential, more dense residential areas. And so obviously south of 94, we have a lot more open space, bigger parcels of farmland where this might be more appropriate.
But it's, okay, some arguments,
We're not regulating, if we're just calling it, if we're not gonna have a third tier where there's more regulation and we're saying anyone, anyone, no matter how small, if you sell it, it's covered under this and we don't delineate it more, then that could go a lot of, there are lots, I mean, battery storage too doesn't need much space, correct? I mean, a battery storage unit then could go next to a residential area where I think that's, I mean, when I listened, that was, I think, the concern. How that would impact some of the residential areas, and it's, the density is higher north of 94.
it is, yes. But we've got potentially, well, high density in industrial districts north of 94 where those would be more ideal economically, but,
Go ahead, Scott.
yeah.
I think if you want to look at that, you could always do that. Maybe put this into place now and then look at that in the future if we have interest moving forward on somebody coming in with a small, and then we could create another tier
Right.
at that point with more regulation to keep it away from higher density residential areas. But there's a saying, don't let perfection be the enemy of good. So, again, this ordinance has been going through multiple consultants for almost 4 years. So,
Yeah.
you can continue because I'm your consultant and I will continue to get paid. But, but I would suggest you move forward on something. Maybe it's not the best. Maybe we can look at this again in the joint meeting coming up next year, and maybe make this third tier where we can allow it more. Again, I don't know if you're seeing a huge amount of people that are coming in to try to put these in. I know Jackson County, they're seeing a lot of people come in, and that's because acreage is 5,000 an acre over there. So it's a lot easier for a developer to say, oh, I'm going to buy a whole bunch of acreage over here. Branch County, I just came from my cottage. There's a 15,000 acre solar farm down there. But again, it's not next to Ann Arbor. It's not, it's out pretty much in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, well, hearing that it can be reviewed later in the future. We're not locking ourselves into.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. So I just wanted to throw that out
Yeah, thank you.
for people to think about anyway. So
But it sounds like it, that's, or maybe that's partly what was addressed with that other tier that you've seen. I didn't know
Yeah.
That was the exact context, but it's something we could utilize.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Any more, Doug?
no,
Sandy, Kurt, Sandy, anything? Go ahead, Sandy.
I'm going to openly admit I don't understand a lot of this. I've never dealt with anything like this. In the lighting section, it says
31, Sandy?
it's on 99 of 160. It says all exterior lighting excluding minimal accent lighting and lighting used for agricultural purposed and exempt under the Right to Farm Act. To me, using the word minimal accent, I don't understand what that means. I mean, it may mean one thing to you being a person who lives in a city, and it may be completely different to me living out in the middle of farmland.
Yeah.
So what is that supposed to mean?
Yeah. You can get rid of that. It means basically like a front porch light, like if you had a small accent light on your house or something that you could have something like that. But I've only seen it used mostly. People will claim that it's a minimal access light if they're on a property where nobody can see it. And they want to put it on and they don't want to have their fully screened light. So basically, you under this ordinance, you can't have a light that isn't fully shielded. So you can't have a light that you put next to your door that glows. That's not a fully shielded light. A fully shielded light has to have all of the bulb under a shield. So
So are we seeing many areas where this is not?
yeah, I mean,
Not
currently, yeah, there, I mean,
I'm thinking of Kavanaugh Lake when I drive around the lake. There's a lot of those lights are not shielded.
oh, yes. I mean, anybody that put in a light prior to the last 5 years or so, whenever LEDs became popular, because LEDs are very easily made directional. So they're just these little pads that you put into a thing and it just shines directly down or directly to wherever you point it. So before, when you had a bulb and then you put like frosted light around it, that's not a fully shielded light. So, but again, like we've seen with the new tow yard, most of the lights that are being put in today are going to be put in under this with this code in mind. And that's because that's what they're selling out there. Like my lights at my house, I remodeled my house in 2017, are all fully shielded lights. And I didn't know that at the time I put them in. I just put them in because they were what I could buy at the Home Depot.
So how then, if this is put in place, how will that apply to all of these homes that do not have fully shielded lights?
So your zoning code isn't retroactive. It only is moving forward. So where these codes work is if all of a sudden your neighbor remodels their house, and like at my house in Chelsea, they moved their front door from the street side to right next to my hot tub, and it now looks directly at, and they put lights there, and the lights weren't fully shielded. So now whenever they turned on their lights, it would light up my entire backyard. So I know the code says they need a fully shielded light. So I went over and talked to them and said, hey, you need fully shielded lights. I can help you. I actually have a few in my storage facility that I have. And I brought them over and we replaced their lights with fully shielded lights. And now their lights don't directly shine into my yard. Their front door still looks at my hot tub, but I'm like, hey, you don't want to see a big fat guy in the hot tub? Don't look over in my yard. So, but that's how it works. It's new stuff that is being put in. And when it's put in, I get a call. It's much easier to go out there and say, hey, you got to change this light out. It can't be this type of light. You have to put this other type of light in. So
does this in any way affect the farming community who have lights on the exterior of their barns?
So it doesn't affect it if you have a current light there. It would affect it if you're putting a new light in and that light's not used for farm purposes under the Right to Farm Act, which more than likely, if you're actually running a farm and you just don't own a barn and you're like storing your $1 million cars in it, then you are exempt under the Right to Farm Act. But if you have a barn and you're claiming that you're a farm and it's actually used to store your RV and your Lamborghini and your Porsche, it's probably not exempt.
But there is protection for.
That's that
farming.
right to farm that you read, agricultural purposes under the right to farm act.
Right, and I think that answers, I mean, if it's legitimate farming operation, then it's exempt. I mean, I've listened to the Dark Skies presentations. I've been here for all of them, and I do understand how important it is in these rural areas. I mean, we want to, it is really hard when your neighbor is blasting you with a light, it should not supposed to cast past their, their property line, but they do. And it's challenging.
Light, you can still see light when it's directional to the ground. From like if I lived across Kavanaugh Lake from somebody and they turned on their lights and they were shining at the ground, I can see that light from the other side of the lake, but it's not shining at me. So it's not going to say that you're not going to see light anymore.
Right.
It's that the light won't be directionally towards you anymore.
Scott, I'm still learning the zoning ropes, but so this lighting ordinance, is it a zoning ordinance or a police ordinance?
Zoning ordinance. This is part of your zoning regulation.
So it's zoning even though it's applies to across the board on the township.
Yep, it's land. It's because it is regulating the use of your land.
Regardless of how it's zoned.
Yep.
All zones have this zoning.
Yep.
Okay.
Anything else, Sandy?
I don't know.
Kurt? I'm sorry. You still yes?
Nah, I don't know.
Andy? I mean, I sat through I listened and I was really appreciative of Attorney Thal weighing in. I know there was a lot of discussion on his suggestions, and I know the planning commission adopted some of those and not others. So yes, we've been working on this for a long time. I'm comfortable with what is before us right now. So
I'll move to accept resolution 25-10. As
Alright.
presented.
okay, so I will go ahead and read this. I think we've done that in the past a lot. So this is a resolution to adopt amendment 25-001 of the zoning ordinance, renewable energy facilities, removal of P5 district lighting regulations. Whereas on July 8th, 2025, the Sylvan Township Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Sylvan Township Planning Commission to amend Sylvan Township zoning ordinance regarding the following items: renewable energy facilities, revision and addition of regulations pertaining to the sitting, design, and operation of renewable energy facilities, including solar energy systems, wind energy systems, battery storage facilities. P5 zoning district, complete removal of existing regulations in reference to the P5 zoning district, including its permitted uses and development standards. Outdoor lighting, addition of new standards and guidelines governing outdoor lighting for commercial and residential properties, intended to reduce light pollution, improve safety, and ensure compatibility with adjacent land uses. Whereas the Sylvan Township Board of Trustees reviewed the proposed changes to the Sylvan Township Code of Ordinances, Chapter 30 zoning regarding renewable energy facilities, the P5 zoning district, and lighting. And whereas the Sylvan Township Board of Trustees acknowledges these zoning amendments will comply with the master plan and will preserve the health, safety, and welfare of the community by allowing the appropriate development of existing sites within the community. And whereas the Sylvan Township Board of Trustees approves and adopts the text amendment of the ordinance as recommended by the Sylvan Township Planning Commission on June 19th, 2025. So then we need a vote. So Doug, this resolution then is offered by Kurt. And do I have support?
Support.
Supported by Sandy. And Doug, if you would please go through that roll call.
Okay, Kosak,
Just one question. I'm confused. This says 25-10 on top, and then this says 25-001. Would this be the first resolution of the year 25?
I think it's supposed to be 01. It's 25-01. We have 25-10 and then the resolution to adopt amendment 25-00.
no, the amendment is 25-001, but this is resolution 10 because we've had 9 resolutions this year. So
Yes, this would be the first amendment to the zoning ordinance this year.
Okay, thank you.
Kurt is a yes.
Okay,
Hegler,
Yes.
Schultz, Jackson, yes, Nimke.
yes.
Okay, 5 yeses, the resolution is adopted.
Right? So now hereby be it resolved on July 8th, 2025, the Sylvan Township Board of Trustees adopts the attached zoning ordinance amendment 25-001. All right, then, thank you, Scott, for all your hard work. Please go ahead.
Just to let you know, the next step in the process will be I'll need to post the notice of adoption in a newspaper of circulation within 15 days of this meeting. And then within after the 7th day, so the 8th day, that ordinance goes into effect.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we will then move on to water plant chemical scales replacement. This was proposed by, oh, Mike has left. Mike gone? I'm only going to read it because I did not prepare this. I didn't know Mike left. So these things were being purchased in the past and they weren't being brought to the board. So, and I agree with Mike's perspective. He wants to just, even though we're budgeting for these, he wants to bring it to the board's attention that these are the ongoing maintenance items that we need to address. So he would like it approved by the board. So this is replacement of the chemical scales for the water treatment plant. So the chemical scales have exceeded their useful life. 3 of 5 are replaced in 2024. The remaining 2 are to be replaced this year. So there is a quote from Great Lakes Scale, and that is in the amount of $9,841.70. So I would look for a motion to approve the purchase of 2 scales from Great Lakes Scale at a cost of not to exceed $10,000.
So moved.
Sandy? That was from Sandy as well? Sandy, support? Right. Any other discussion?
In the quote, they have tariff.
You seen that? You're seeing that in quotes?
Yeah,
I'm wondering what that is.
Because the cost of tariffs, how it's impacting.
So this
Good.
Washtenaw products is an overseas product or something? They're charging
Yes.
tariffs on it?
Guessing. Yep. You are seeing that on goods.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
All right. Any other comments or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. That motion carries. We will then move on to water distribution, field forms and dashboard. All right. So again, this is from Adam Potter is our II water consultant and Mike. So it's a GIS base map projects of water mains, hydrants, and valves for distribution system has been created. The next steps are task 1 is to create the field map forms to document some of the most common routine field work, hydrant flushing, valve exercising, missed dig marking. After the data is collected, task 2 is to create a dashboard for monitoring field work status and download data. Data collected in the GIS will support asset management, document field work, and assist locating when performing missed dig services. This is part of a long-term phase project to document and map the water system assets, hydrants, valves, fittings, curb stops, meters, etc. This is really important. We have done this with the sewer system. We really need to do this with the water system because like the water break that was on Magellan last December when Adam and I had to dig looking for the valves, that was not fun. So once we have this mapped out, then we'll be able to know exactly where these assets are if we have an issue. So attached is a quote from OHM for GIS development for field maps for the water distribution system, routing maintenance and missed dig. So I would look for a motion to approve the June 27th, 2025 OHM proposal for the water system GIS field map development and water system GIS dashboard project not to exceed $9,000.
Support.
So I have that motion from Sandy, supported by Sandy. And again, this was part of the budget process. Mike is just wanting to bring this forward so that the board has it memorialized, that these are the things that we are addressing All right, so I have a motion from Sandy, supported by Sandy. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries. All right. So then we will move on to public comment. Any public comment? Dave?
Hey, Reinhardt, Sylvan Township. I was grateful for Doug bringing up the south of 94 versus now north of 94 being excluded. And that made me think that if we're supportive of the 2030 project, I know there were some more words with it. I don't feel like I feel like we should, as a board and a community, be making it easier and more places to be energy efficient, solar, wind, whatever, rather than excluding. It kind of starts to feel like I support it, but I don't want it near me where I have to see it. So I'm really glad you brought that up, and I would support opening up more area or small and things that move towards 2030 project.
Thank you, Dave. All right, anyone else? Patrick?
Patrick Ziske, Sylvan Township President. Also on the subject of the Washtenaw 2030 program, I took note of the fact that that the energy improvements are not going to be mandatory. It's really a review and a benchmarking. And I do wonder though, and it's something that could be checked at a later time because you're not doing a motion on it today, whether after you join the program requirements may still be changed at a later time. Something that's not required today might be required later. Just be mindful of that. I'm not saying it's wrong. Understand who's in control of the program and the future direction of the program, and would we have a say in that? This is the question. Another thing I want to mention. It seems like it's aimed at commercial and I guess multifamily mostly. I'm also aware though, as somebody who's planning to develop a small subdivision of single family homes, which is outside the scope, that energy usage in single family homes and residential developments is a large part of the picture in Washtenaw County. I wish I knew what percentage it was compared to commercial. And as I've gone through this process, I just stumbled upon something a few months ago that in 2019, the Washtenaw County actually declared a climate emergency. Now, we have all of different feelings about whether they should have done this or whatever, but there's no evidence that anybody's taking any emergency steps, right? I didn't even know about it until 4 years later. And probably many of you don't know about it now. But I wonder whether there's any kind of advocacy component to what we're doing in Washtenaw 2030 as well, to advocate for structural changes in regulations across the county that would make it easier for somebody to build or renovate in an energy efficient way. And I'll give an example. I don't know if this is completely out of scope, but I mentioned this to our county commissioner on the same night that I found out about that climate emergency, alleged climate emergency. There's a small a farm in Webster Township that had a bunch of tiny houses on it. Now, I know tiny houses have a lot of different considerations, and they were completely off limits of regulation. They just kind of did it. And they were fine for a long time until they got into trouble because their neighbor wanted to do it too and asked the township how to get permitted. And they said, well, actually, you can't get permitted. So the neighbor got angry, of course, right? And it all makes sense. But eventually the county came down on them because they weren't supporting the county environmental health regulations. The township came down on them because they weren't in compliance with ordinances. And Everybody else just kind of stood back and let it happen until they got shut down. And the reason why I'm mentioning this story, and the reason I mentioned it to the county commissioner and your presence here as well, is because at no point in that process was anybody saying, "Hey, look, actually, what these people were doing, maybe they violated some ordinances, or they were kind of pushing the envelope a little bit, but they probably had less than 10% of the ecological footprint of the average home in this county. And shouldn't we put a path in place to try to find out how to do things like this legit, right? Rather than just shut them down, shut them down, shut them down." And I still haven't gotten any answer from anybody as to why are we treating this seriously? And you don't even have to talk about carbon. You don't have to talk about carbon. You can talk about all kinds of other environmental impacts, right? Impacts on the land, et cetera. But anyway, I meant to comment for the board, but also for Liza here, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I wonder if there is any kind of component where feedback gets funneled back into the county for making structural changes that would encourage more sustainable building practices and living practices. I know I exceeded my time too, but thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Anyone else? All right, then we will move on to the Board of Trustees comments.
I just want to comment that the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks is offering up to $10,000 of a grant for municipalities, townships, for ADA compliance. So I'm thinking that we could apply for a grant to help pay for our renovations because we're putting in a wheelchair accessible window, as well as if we can get the project going on the parking lot, the ADA ramp that has to be built for wheelchairs. So to do that, I would need a project description, total estimated project cost, and then they want to know that the project's been done. Well, they want 2 quotes for the work, so I know we have those for the renovations. But then it would have to be done within 120 days of receiving the grant. So
Do you need approved contractors? Because sometimes the grants, in order to qualify, the contractors that you're selecting also have to comply with their list.
right now it just says 2 quotes from contractors or vendors for the proposed work exceeding $5,000. Must indicate vendor's preference in project description.
Okay.
So, but the application opens up July 14th, so that's coming up, and I'd like to jump on this because they have about 100 available based on the
I mean,
$1 million they have.
the ADA compliance in the lobby, we're ready with that.
Yeah.
But since our project is already moving forward, does that still qualify?
Yep. It can be one that's already been done.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
yeah.
great.
Go for it.
Okay. Anything else?
That's all I have to say.
Really, the only thing I think I've got right now is, as you all know, you've gotten a love note from me. Payments are coming in, and I will not be at the next board meeting as I will be on vacation.
Yeah, for the Chelsea Area Fire Authority, the board is going to discuss at our next meeting, which is the 3rd Tuesday of the month, implementing a millage to provide ambulance service, advanced life support. Right now, if there's an accident, CAFA shows up, and if somebody needs to be transported, we can do that. Right now, it's sort of who gets there first, Huron Valley Ambulance or CAFA, and because CAFA is in the area, CAFA generally is the first responder, and they're there before HVA is, but sometimes HVA gets there first. What this millage would do would be to make CAFA a full paramedic advanced life support. So if they get to an accident scene and they need to start IVs and they'll have the ambulances that can transport them directly to the hospital and then we wouldn't rely on HVA anymore unless CAFA was too busy and needed additional help. So right now we think that it would be about 0.75 mils in order to provide this service. So less than 1 mil. And we're going through and creating a financial model to make sure that we have all the costs captured. We don't want to say it's 0.75 and then find out our costs are much higher. The way it works with the revenue is if you need an ambulance, they'll bill if you use the ambulance, they'll bill your insurance company. And the insurance will cover up a certain portion. And if the actual costs are higher, then CAFA or the taxpayer would absorb that extra cost, or if somebody doesn't pay at all, or their insurance company doesn't pay.
But I think right now, if HVA transports and your insurance doesn't cover it, you get the bill, correct?
Correct.
Right, but with the new model that they're proposing, you would not get that bill. They would absorb it.
So that's, they asked me to make sure all board members were made aware of the discussions we're gonna have in a couple of weeks regarding advanced life support.
Kurt, this is gonna go to the polls, I take it? And are they planning on having that on next year's ballot, or are they gonna want a special election?
I think they're shooting for November.
This November? So it would be a special election for that one village.
Yeah, seems like there's a bunch of other things coming along in November, so.
Get ready.
I'm gonna be on vacation this.
I will help you. All right,
That's all I have.
Sandy. All right,
Just one last question. Because we've signed the 425 with Lima, what's the progress with the joint PC?
Attorney Thal did email Supervisor Van Riper and I this week, and he had something that he was dealing with the last couple weeks. He expects to have something to us in the next, he said, week or two with the next steps for the planning commission, the joint planning commission.
Okay.
So he's working on it right now. All right. So we have been interviewing for a new assessor, and we have gone through that process, but I will tell you, I am very delighted to share that Catherine Skull has decided to stay. So she's going to give us another year. We, we discovered going through this process that these other assessors were not going to work every day, and we have been able to let her know that you do not need to be here every day, that she will have reduced hours here, which is fine. I mean, no other assessor was going to give us the amount of hours that she did. So that was part of her decision. So I am so pleased that she's going to stay at least another year. So we are very happy. We start the lobby renovation tomorrow afternoon. They are going to, you see, we're starting to remove some things in the lobby. So Thursday, we are actually going to close the office to the public. A lot of us will be here. But because it's the initial demo, we really don't think it's safe. And then once we are going through the process, we will likely reroute people through this door. It could be that door, and then we'll have them enter through the boardroom. This is where the front office staff will be. So we'll kind of reorder the way that we're using the boardroom at that point so that we can provide service amidst that, those renovations. So that's all I have. All right. Well, then I will look for a motion to adjourn. So moved. Looks like it is 8:15.
Support.
Okay, that motion from Sandy, supported by Doug. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, meeting's adjourned at 8:15. You don't want to say. Thank you so much. And thank you, Liza, for attending. We appreciate that. We'll be in touch for sure. There'll be some more discussion. Ay, ay, ay. So much.